Welcome back to Good Morning LaLa and bringing us a little morning magic. Day Schildkret, thank you so much for being with us today.
I'm happy to be here.
Congratulations on the book.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
It's published tomorrow.
Morning Altars.
It's born
Perfect
tomorrow.
timing.
Born tomorrow. It'll be a new day for you.
It's very exciting. I feel like a new papa.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Where did your journey start?
Well, actually, when I was 5 years old, I was the kid that would go out on my driveway after a rainstorm and see all the little wiggling worms that were displaced. And I'd help them onto little leaves, and I'd punch little holes in the earth on my front lawn, and I'd help them get back into the ground. And I would decorate every single wormhole on my front lawn with little twigs and little berries and, bark. And I would have this constellation of beauty on my front lawn. I was that kind of kid.
Really?
Who taught you that?
Yeah. Kids innately want to make art in nature. It's like when they're at the beach, they just want to play with the sand or play with shells. If you go to the woods, kids just want to play with leaves. If they sit on the grass, they're like tearing the grass and making things with it. It's innate for us as human beings to be creative. And nature is always creating and always dying and always recreating itself. So kids and nature go really well together. And I think as we get older, as we become adults, we forget that. And we become part of this modern society where we're always trying to, self-direct and get to places. And our blinders, our sense of wonder with the world goes like from this to this. And we lose sight of most of our reality. Kids are like way more tapped in than adults.
They are, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I've always, thought and found kids to be so incredibly inspired and inspiring because they haven't quite lost that wonder and that awe.
Yeah.
How would you recommend that adults sort of tap back into that? Obviously, the book, but where would you recommend they start?
Well, I would say just leave your front door.
Yeah.
The EPA just put out a report a few years ago that said the average American, the modern American, spends 93% of their lives indoors.
Wow.
93%. Whereas like 3 generations ago, your ancestors were probably outdoors all the time.
Right.
So you have to ask yourself, what skills are you missing? What goes atrophied when you're spending 93% of your life indoors? I ask this question all the time to workshops I teach around the world. And people say curiosity, wonder, surprise, a sense of awe. I mean, really deep human skills that we're losing because we're not going outside.
And even if we are going outside, we're often just looking at it through our cell phones.
Yeah, right. Or through the car window.
Right.
Trying to get places. So the magic of this practice, by the way, this practice started about 7 years ago because I had a major relationship breakup. I was totally wrecked. I was so grief-soaked that all I could do was walk my dog every day, through the hills where I was living. And along the way, I would just see these beautiful things at my feet, like beautiful crow feathers and beautiful clusters of berries. And I became so enamored with them that one day I walked to the top of a hill and there was a eucalyptus tree. It was dawn. The fog was rolling in. It was very Spielbergian. And I sat down under that tree and I just saw these beautiful amber-colored mushrooms that looked like they were painted in watercolor. And I started to arrange it on the earth. And an hour went by in a second. It was the first time in 4 months that my grief wasn't weighing me down. And I made a challenge to myself. Could I return to that spot for 30 days and make something beautiful? And I did it. Every morning I would walk my dog, I'd grab a basket, I'd find beautiful things along the way that everyone would walk over or think that wasn't important, leaves and bark and berries and bones. And I'd go to that same tree and I'd just arrange something beautiful. Your last guest spoke about sacred geometry. So I'm obsessed with symmetry and geometry. It's a universal language. When I see something symmetrical, my whole body goes, And I would make something, and every day I felt like I was metabolizing my grief. And I was working through my life.
That's incredible. And you were doing it simply for the joy of doing it. There was
I was
no
doing
end
it.
goal.
Yeah, well, because I've been doing it every day for 7 years, Life happens, right? My best friend has a baby, for instance. So I go outside and I make something beautiful for that baby. And I photograph it and I send it to my best friend. And then they print it up and put it on the baby's wall. And that particular impermanent earth art was made for that baby to honor a milestone. And I think as human beings these days, we're missing that. We're missing ways to honor milestones in our lives. And we have to reclaim that. It's so innately human, you know? So this is a very easy way to do it. Anyone, any age, anywhere around the world can do this. You just step out your front door and you make something. And what's fascinating is this week alone, I got messages from people in Russia, Poland, and Iran who are making beauty right outside their front door, and they're sending it to me on Instagram.
How does that make you feel?
It chills. Like I have chills every day that there's a movement that's starting.
Well, it's so incredible too because it speaks to this, I think, law of life, which is that, you know, the more you focus on something, the more of it you get, you know, and you focusing on beauty and you're seeing the ways in which it's sort of just multiplying itself over and over and then coming back to you from across the world.
Yeah, there's seeds. I put out little seeds of my own beauty, and then people are inspired, and then they go out and make their own beauty. And the thing that's also fascinating is I get emails all around the world from people in Pakistan and Iran and Peru that their people, their ancestors have been doing this for thousands of years. So I'm tapping into something that's very old, but that's so helpful for modern human beings to just make things.
Isn't it so interesting, though, how people really are tapping into an ancient culture, whether it's with their morning altars or their Kundalini yoga, and really drawing from their spiritual selves?
Because we're starving for meaning.
Completely starving
we're starving for it. Yeah, and this is the beautiful thing about morning altars is they're completely impermanent. So can I pick up this book?
Oh, please.
Okay, so on the cover, which is very tactile, that's part of the altar that I made. But if you look on the back, that's it a few days later.
Wow.
And they're all impermanent. So part of the magic and the wisdom of this art is that you do it exactly how you want to do it. I'm a perfectionist, as you can see. It's very hard to do this in nature.
Oh, I can imagine.
And then the wind comes, or the rains come, or by the way, this one, I had a squirrel literally sneak onto this and steal a nut from the altar in the middle of it.
No.
And it helps, to me, what this does is it helps me every day relate to change, which is the underlying current of life. And when change comes and you don't have any practice relating to change, you show up as an amateur to change. But this is a daily practice so that you make something and it changes. And then sometimes you're heartbroken about it. Sometimes you're in wonder with it. But it helps you every day, like a muscle, like you're exercising a muscle of being in relationship with change and impermanence.
I just absolutely love that. I talk to people every day, and I would say that if I were to reduce everything that they struggle with down, it's really loss and separation and change. It's instability, insecurity, unpredictability, and the inability to sort of predict what's going to happen in the future. But the interesting thing about it, what you've just highlighted so well, is that when you accept all of that, and you can turn it even into a practice, you find a deeper level of permanent stability, security, and predictability.
Yeah, and not only that, not just turn it into a practice, but take uncertainty and make beauty with it. That to me is the magic, right?
That is magic.
Yeah, you're taking something, look, life's unstable, life's uncertain, life's mysterious. So in the face of mystery, can you make beauty? And that's this.
And you've got an incredible event happening.
Oh yeah.
November 2nd. Tell us a little
Do you know
bit
about this?
that.
And let's hear about it.
Okay, so about a week and a half ago, we were just invited, my team and I, to go to the 9/11 Memorial Plaza in downtown Manhattan, where Ground Zero happened, and they're inviting all of downtown Manhattan to make one large morning altar underneath the survivor tree in that area, and we're very honored. It's a very sacred spot, and this impermanent art is there to teach people about impermanence and change, and also to honor the victims of that place of 9/11.
Wow.
And it's a deep honor. That's a very sacred spot for this culture, and to make something that's not meant to last there, that's made something out of the actual place. You know, we're going to actually work with the land there. To me is such a beautiful way to honor the victims and to honor New York, the spirit of that city.
Oh my goodness, just incredible. It's so inspiring.
Yeah.
How can people find and follow and contribute to the event?
So if you go to morningaltars.com/events, that's the information for that particular event. And it's part of the Reimagine Festival. So I'm quite honored to be there. The next day I'll be building one of these live on stage with the band Dispatch. And so you could do that. And also on Instagram, I'm going to be posting quite a lot about it at Morning Altars.
Such an honor to have you. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
You're so
it's
incredible.
quite
you,
a
Dave.
pleasure to be here on the eve of the birth of my book.
Yes.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you.
Stay tuned. We'll be back with more on Good Morning La La Land.